Kia ora, malo. Welcome to Point of View podcast. My name is Tom Augustine. This is your monthly podcast where we talk about what's coming up in cinemas, on streaming, and we always get someone very exciting in to talk to about an upcoming film. This month, I got to talk to Vea Mafile'o, one of the country's most exciting upcoming filmmakers, about the documentary Lomu that she made with Gavin Fitzgerald. It is a really wonderful documentary about the life of maybe the most iconic rugby player of all time, Jonah Lomu. It is a film that really took me by surprise and is incredibly powerful, and it's really great to be able to speak to Vea today, so take a look. Vea Mafile'o, thank you so much for being in here at the office with me today. Your film that you co-directed with Gavin Fitzgerald, Lomu, is a really impressive documentary telling the story of one of our great rugby icons. Malo, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
So I watched the film last night and I found it very moving and also quite enraging in a lot of ways. Like, I felt a lot of rage, I felt a lot of grief, because there's a way to tell the story that frames it as very triumphant, but that's not really the story that you were telling. So do you want to maybe start with how you came to the story and how you wanted to approach it?
Sure. Well, I was actually brought on quite late in the piece, even though I have been involved for 5 years now. You know, documentaries, they seem to take a while.
Yes.
But yeah, so it was actually an English production company who started it, and then they approached a New Zealand one. Gavin was already involved, and then I guess, you know, nowadays everyone kind of realizes that to tell kind of brown stories you should probably have some a brown lens sort of attached to it as well. So that's how I kind of came aboard. I guess, you know, there's been a lot of controversy sort of around him and surrounding him, but you know, coming from the same island in Tonga, like, and I'm very sort of Tongan loyal in terms of like upskilling our Tongan filmmakers and doing whatever I can to kind of, you know, awhi that sort of support system. I couldn't really say no. And I mean it like in the sense that, yeah, rugby's kind of cool and it's been around in my life. My dad was a first 15 coach, but it's, to me, I guess, embarking on it, it was never really about being a rugby film.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, absolutely,
and that much is clear because it's. I genuinely think, you know, Jonah Lomu is more than rugby, and that the film makes that very clear, and it also lays bare a lot of the things that I find really unsettling about the rugby world, in its relationship to colonialism, its relationship to racism as well. So I assume those were probably on your mind when you were working on the film.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I feel like there's a whole nother film that can be made like that really kind of, you know, draws into that situation. But yeah, I mean, I think just the way that he has in the past been represented, you know, through media, even through the community, you know, people are really surprised after they watch the film about his life. I get, you know, you're right, it's unsettling, and you know, people have said that it is an uncomfortable watch, and I think somehow, well, I would like to think that it makes people sort of reflect on their own judgments of others. You know,
absolutely. And you know, it struck me that there's a lot about his life that's quite tragic. What is the relationship between the kind of figure of Jonah and you know, people in Tonga?
Well, because of how he was portrayed in the media, people, you know, we screened it in Tonga a couple of weeks ago, and I was actually really surprised because documentaries and a Tongan audience that's very new.
Yeah, sure.
So I was like, oh, how's everyone going to take it? And but they were quiet in the quiet parts and sharing in the parts where he's scoring tries and stuff. But I think it was very, very eye-opening for them because they saw him speaking Tongan and they saw him just actually being a normal Tongan guy.
Sure.
And so, for them, we have this saying like "Fia Palangi," which is, you want to be a white person, you want to be this other person that you're not. For them, it really made them understand that he was just himself, caught up in this kind of world.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because obviously you have quite a storied career in yourself, and you have worked on the film For My Father's Kingdom and Lea Tupu'anga, which is maybe one of my favourite short films of the last 10 years. Really great film. And it seems to me like there's a through line in your work about family relationships, particularly children and fathers. And it feels like this film probably has something to do with that. It feels like this film ties into that quite strongly. Did you feel that while you were making it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's very hard to, I guess, begin to think of how you can tell someone's story when they're not around. So for me, it was identifying what are the emotional connections that other people can kind of draw from so that they can feel kind of, I guess, hooked into the story.
Sure.
If you're not there to articulate things yourself, and also like, finding, how do I find the truths? If the person's not there, all I can do is find the truths of everyone around him. And that really happened to be via his mother, actually. Even though, there was, his dad is present, and I guess you can see a lot of that comes through in terms of their conflicting relationship. But it's really the mum's relationship that's helped give the emotional grounding to the whole film, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
And so a lot of my work is very emotionally driven. And I think, there was one scene where he is crying back in Tonga and his young boy. Yeah. And as soon as I saw that footage, I was like, okay, fine, we've got to film. Because, like, we've all seen the stuff of Jonah online and stuff, but as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, here is this pure emotional moment I don't think anyone's seen before, but we can build off that and build that family narrative, because everything in Tongan life is centered around family.
Yeah. And it's a remarkable moment. I obviously had never seen that footage before. It is the heart of the film in a sense, because you see the tagline of the film is everyone knew the legend, but few knew the man, and that feels like a moment where we get to see sort of the mask fall away. It's an incredible. So, how did you go about sourcing this footage?
Well, his brother John, he was amazing because he had collected a lot of the family tapes. And strangely enough, because it's kind of weird, because not many families had a camera back in that days, but they had one, and they would film all of his games at Wesley, and the camera was just around, and it was like in church, and it was documenting the kind of Tongan community at that time as well. So I think I must have looked through like 150 VHS tapes.
Yeah, right.
Half of them were like dubbed over with like Dennis the Menace or like some crazy program where it was like, no, but they had this, he had just collated it all together. And so there was like this treasure trove where there was like little diamonds. Wow. It was a lot to find the diamonds, but it was there, and he was present in amongst all of that. So
do you think there was like an awareness that this is going to be important stuff in the future?
Yeah, I think for John and the family, they've just kind of known that this time would come. Yeah, and so, for him, I think it was very much just waiting for the right moment, and
Totally.
here we are. You know.
Do you feel a certain, is that a weight? Is that a responsibility to carry that?
Yeah.
Being the person telling that story?
Yeah, especially, you know, because there's not many Tongan filmmakers, or even Tongan stories generally. But then to have someone like Jonah, it feels like very largely layered of responsibility. And I think I'm probably gonna uncurl from the fetal position at some point, and you know, but I hope that, you know, even though it is a tragic story, that that people can also understand he was a true superhero for his times.
Absolutely.
You know, and recognize that.
Yeah, the contributions that he left are staggering. One of the things I did want to ask you about that I found really interesting in the film, and that I find interesting in other films that you've worked on, is the relationship between these kinds of structures and religion and the church and that kind of thing. Because it feels like it's quite a complex relationship. Yes. So what's your kind of relationship with that? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a personal point of view, religion has always been something that I've been trying to figure out, because it's so, you know, obviously, I don't want to say I have dad issues, but
who doesn't?
But, you know, I have a distinct moment in time, a memory where, you know, my dad was on the pulpit and he was so overly emotional, and because my parents were splitting at the time, and he was living in Tonga and we were living in New Zealand, and then I was just like, so I think I was like 11, and just so dumbfounded at how emotional he was towards God and Jesus. And then so for me, it's just been like an ongoing unpacking of how religion can just be so, you know, so emotionally engulfing in people's lives, yet the reality of people and communications and life is a different situation for people. So it stems, and you can see my artwork back in high school. It's all like the demigods burning crosses and, you know, all of this kind of stuff. But, you know, Christianity just really pulverized Tonga in terms of, you know, losing all of that stuff. So for me, it's always the religion and my work always just kind of intertwine.
Well, you know, they say that the mark of a really great filmmaker is that they are doing a variation on the same ideas in the films, and I think that's well, from your work so far at least. I don't know, maybe you'll go off and make like a slapstick comedy after this, but who knows?
I would like to be funny one day. I would. Not so dramatic.
I can see it for you. I can see it in the future. Vea Mafile'o, this has been so great to speak to you. I really adore this film and your work in general, so thank you for being here with me today.
Aloha Pito, thank you for having me.
Cheers.
Cool.
Now, August, obviously, Whanau Marama International Film Festival is going to be in full swing. There are many, many films playing at Whanau Marama, which I highly recommend going along and seeing. I talked about some of those last month, so do go back and check that out if you are wondering what to watch. But there are also films releasing out in cinemas that are not at the film festival, so let's talk about those for a minute. So, on the 6th of August, we have, it's a pretty quiet week because of the film festival, I imagine, but we have Ice Cream Man, which is the new horror film from Eli Roth. That one looks to be fairly twisted, fairly bloody in the kind of classic Eli Roth fashion. We also have Savage House, which is a kind of British chamber piece. Richard E. Grant, Claire Foy, very talented actors. Kind of like a costume drama, maybe a little bit cheeky, a little bit funny as well. So that's on the 6th of August. Then on the 13th of August, we get into full swing with two really, really interesting films that have the potential to be big hits. The first is One Night Only. Now, this is a very interesting looking romantic comedy with like an almost sci-fi twist. where it's a rom-com about two people having a meet cute, but in this world there is only one night in a year where people who aren't married, single people, are allowed to have sex. That is the concept behind the film, which is a bit of a hard sell, but the actors involved are very, very fun. It looks to be quite cute. It's from the director of Easy A, which is a really great comedy in and of itself. So I think this one could be a sleeper hit. It could be worth watching. The other one, which I'm very excited for, is The End of Oak Street. Now, this one comes to us from the director of Under the Silver Lake, and It Follows, David Robert Mitchell, who I think is one of the most promising American filmmakers. And he is kind of turned towards a almost Spielbergian blockbuster kind of mode. This is the story of an entire street gets transported back to the prehistoric era where there are dinosaurs and a whole lot of danger. And Hathaway is in there, Ewan McGregor. The trailers look really promising. I am very excited for this one. I've heard a little bit of whispers that this is something special. So fingers crossed for that one. We also have a comedy film from RuPaul called Stop That Train. Now, this one encountered a little bit of controversy because some have pulled out what they think looks to be kind of AI generated effects and that kind of thing in the film. They have said that that's not the case, but it's a little bit unsettled as to whether or not that's actually true. But there is a whole lot of talent in there. The trailers look fun. It does look quite funny. So that one is also coming out, but I imagine it will be swallowed up by those other big two titles that are coming out that week. Then on the 20th, we have another film with a whole lot of AI controversy, Young Washington. Now, this is a historical feature. It kind of comes from a very kind of conservative American production company. Reportedly, they used a great amount of AI to generate parts of this film. It does have a fairly big starry cast. Ben Kingsley is in there, amongst others. It's the story of George Washington before he became George Washington. So that one, if you are interested in that kind of thing, I probably will be skipping it. We also have Mutiny, which is the new Jason Statham action film. This one, a classic Jason Statham film. Very tough Jason Statham-like character gets accused of a crime he didn't commit. He goes on the run. He's trying to find out who actually did it. Yeah, it looks like fun. If you like Jason Statham movies, as I do, I love Jason Statham. This could be one to check out. Also on the 20th of August, this is the one to catch, in my opinion. It is also at Whānau Marama. Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Maisma. It's from the great director Jane Schoenbrunn, who is a transgender filmmaker who made I Saw the TV Glow. She is an incredible, incredible filmmaker. And Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Maisma is her latest kind of trippy, postmodern meta kind of exploration of film history and desire and all sorts of other stuff working away under the currents. Really, really great pair in Hannah Einbender from Hacks and Gillian Anderson, of course, the great Gillian Anderson, in this kind of psychosexual kind of mania. It's a really, really fun movie, but also quite moving. I really, really loved it. It's one of my favorite of the year. So go check that out on the 20th of August. We also have, quite interestingly, we have the film Tony. Now, this one comes to us from the director of Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, which I'll be talking about later. This one is the story of the early days of Anthony Bourdain. The great Dominic Sessa, who was so good in The Holdovers, is playing young Anthony Bourdain. He is an incredibly talented actor. I find him to be really promising, really gripping. So there's a lot of reasons to hope that this will be a really, really engaging, interesting telling of that story. Of course, Anthony Bourdain, what a legend. Then on the 27th of August, we actually have two kind of major re-releases. The 25th anniversary of both of these films, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Obviously, a lot of people will be going out to see that. But also, The Fast and the Furious. Now, The Fast and the Furious 25th anniversary restoration actually showed at Cannes this year. There was a little bit of controversy around it because people were saying, why show The Fast and the Furious at the biggest film festival in the world where so many art house films are being shown? The Fast and the Furious series I love. I think they're great Hollywood entertainment. There have been bad ones, no denying that, but there have also been really, really great ones. Tokyo Drift, Fast 5, these are really great action movies. And The Fast and the Furious, where it all started, has this really, really endearing kind of B-movie quality to it. And to go back to where it all started is really, really fun. So I will be there for that. We also have, right at the end of the month, The Dog Stars, which is the new Ridley Scott film. Now, Ridley Scott has been on a bit of a downward trend lately. Obviously, he's quite senior now. He's in his late 80s, but he is not stopping. He will make films until he dies. And his last few films have been fairly mixed. Obviously, there was Gladiator 2, there was Napoleon. These films have the scale, but not necessarily the craft, and of the direction, at least. And so it will be interesting to see how he tackles a smaller, more contained story. This is a post-apocalyptic drama. Jacob Elordi's in there, Josh Brolin. It will be interesting to see what he makes of a slightly smaller scale story. We also have Case 137, which was at the French Film Festival, also at Cannes last year. Lea Tupu'anga, one of the great French actresses, is in there. It's kind of a police crime drama. It looks quite promising. I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard good things about that one as well. So keep an eye out for that one, a slightly smaller one coming out on that week, but worth watching. 22nd of August, 8:30 p.m. on Rialto Channel. That's my mum's birthday, but also it is the night that Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie is going to be screening on Rialto Channel. This is a very, very funny movie from the cult comedy duo Nirvana, the band. The director, Matt Johnston, he has also made the film Tony that's coming out this month. This is a really, really funny movie that is already rising in the ranks of kind of cult comedy classics. It was made on the smell of an oily rag off the back of a very, very popular web series turned TV show. It's incredibly funny. It's incredibly inventive. There's a time travel element. And if you haven't seen it in one of the kind of underground screenings that has happened already this year in Auckland, I highly recommend you check it out and get on the bandwagon now with this very, very funny movie. So that's 22nd of August, 8:30 p.m. Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. That's all we have time for today here at Point of View. Thank you so much for tuning in. Come back and see us next month. We'll have more movie news and interviews for you to enjoy. Ka kite.